Everybody on TikTok knew Jay and Chris. They weren't biological brothers, but honestly, they might as well have been. They grew up on the same street, went to the same school, wore each other's clothes, and even slept in the same room whenever one of them had problems at home. When Jay had nothing, Chris had nothing too. When Chris became successful, Jay celebrated like it was his own success. They made TikTok videos together. Funny pranks, challenges, street interviews, and crazy skits. Within 2 years, they became one of the most loved duos on the internet. Their fans had a name for them, the Unbreakable Brothers, and for a long time, that was true. Until Zara came into their lives. Zara was also a TikToker. She was beautiful, confident, funny, and had millions of followers. Her videos always went viral. The first time Jay saw her, she was filming a dance video in a shopping mall. Jay stopped walking. Chris looked at him and laughed. "Bro, what happened to you?" Jay couldn't take his eyes off her. "I think I just found my wife." Chris burst out laughing. "Go and talk to her, Mr. Future Husband." Jay was nervous, but Chris pushed him forward. That was the beginning. A few weeks later, Jay and Zara started making videos together. At first, it was just content. Then, they started hanging out. Then, the flirting became real. Then, they started dating. Their fans went crazy. Everywhere online, people were posting videos of them. Jay and Zara are the cutest TikTok couple. Chris was always around too. He filmed their videos, helped them come up with ideas, and even defended Zara whenever people attacked her online. The three of them became inseparable. Jay loved it. Zara loved it. Chris pretended to love it too. But slowly, something began changing. Every time Zara laughed at Chris's jokes, Jay noticed. Every time Chris and Zara made eye contact, Jay noticed. And every time Jay brought it up, Chris would laugh. "Bro, that's your girl. Why would you be jealous of me?" Jay would feel stupid. Maybe he was overthinking, but deep down, something didn't feel right. Then one night, everything changed. Jay was live on TikTok with Zara. They were doing a relationship challenge, and thousands of people were watching. Jay asked her a simple question. "If you could date anyone in this room except me, who would you choose?" Zara froze. Chris was sitting across the room. For 3 seconds, nobody spoke. Then Zara laughed awkwardly. Obviously nobody. But the comment section exploded. Why did she look at Chris? Jay, open your eyes. Chris and Zara have chemistry. Jay laughed and tried to ignore it, but that night, after the live ended, he couldn't sleep. A few months later, Jay and Zara began arguing. Small arguments at first. Why didn't you call me? Who are you texting? Why are you always with Chris? Why do you keep checking my phone? Their perfect TikTok relationship slowly became a nightmare behind the cameras. Then, one day, Zara broke up with Jay. No warning, no long explanation, just one message. "I don't think this relationship is working anymore. I'm tired, Jay." Jay stared at his phone for almost an hour. He couldn't believe it. He called her. She didn't answer. He went to her house. She refused to come outside. For the first time in years, Jay cried in front of Chris, and Chris did what a brother would do. He hugged him. "Forget her, bro. You've got me." Jay looked at him with tears in his eyes. "Promise me you'll never switch up on me over a woman." Chris looked straight into his eyes. "I swear on everything, never." Jay believed him. That was his biggest mistake. 3 months passed. Jay was slowly healing. Then one evening, while scrolling through TikTok, he saw something that made his heart stop. A video. Zara was standing in a beautiful apartment decorated with candles. Someone behind the camera was holding her hand. She laughed. The camera moved, and there he was, Chris, Jay's best friend, his brother, the man who had promised him never. The video had already gotten over 2 million views. The caption read, "Sometimes the right person was closer than you thought." Jay couldn't breathe. He watched the video again and again. Then he noticed something worse. The date. The video had been uploaded that day, but the apartment was the same apartment where Chris had told Jay he was too busy to help him film content. Jay called Chris immediately. Chris answered, "Yo, bro." Jay was silent. "Chris, yeah? Are you dating Zara?" The line went completely quiet. Jay's heart began beating faster. "Bro, it's complicated." Jay laughed, a painful laugh. "Complicated?" Chris sighed. "I didn't plan this, okay? It just happened." "When?" Chris didn't answer. Jay shouted, "When?" Then Chris said something that destroyed
everything. "Before you and Zara officially broke up." Jay went silent. Chris quickly tried to explain. "It wasn't serious at first. We were just talking. Nothing happened. While she was still my girlfriend? Jay, listen. Jay hung up. For the first time since they were children, Jay blocked his brother. But the story didn't end there, because the internet noticed everything. Fans realized Jay and Chris had unfollowed each other. They stopped making videos together. Zara stopped commenting on Jay's posts. And suddenly, millions of people wanted to know what happened. Then one night, Jay went live. Over 300,000 people joined. He didn't say anything for almost 5 minutes. Then he looked into the camera. You guys always called us the Unbreakable Brothers. The comment section slowed down. Jay swallowed hard. But I learned something. He looked down. Sometimes, God separates people from your life, not because you did something wrong. He paused. But because they were never meant to go where you're going. The live exploded. Clips from the live stream went viral everywhere. #TeamJ began trending. But Chris and Zara weren't finished. The next day, they went live together. Chris looked directly into the camera. I know people think I betrayed Jay. The comments went crazy. Zara held his hand. Chris continued. But you don't control who you fall in love with. Then, suddenly, Jay joined their live. Chris's face changed. Zara froze. Over 1 million people were now watching. Jay smiled. Chris is right. Chris looked confused. You don't control who you fall in love with. Jay leaned closer to the camera. But you control what you do with that feeling. The comments exploded. Oh! Somebody call the fire service! Chris tried to speak, but Jay continued. You knew how much she meant to me. You knew how broken I was. You sat beside me while I cried over her. Chris looked away. And every night after telling me she wasn't good for me. Jay smiled painfully. You were texting her. Zara suddenly released Chris's hand. Chris looked at her. Zara. She looked nervous. Jay laughed. Then he said something nobody expected. You know what's funny? I don't even hate either of you anymore. Chris stared at the screen. Jay continued. Because if you hadn't done what you did, I would never have discovered the truth. What truth? Chris asked. Jay smiled. I found out everything. The live went silent. Jay pulled out his phone. Every deleted message, every fake location, every night you two met. Zara's face turned pale. Chris stood up. Jay, don't do this. Jay looked directly at him. You already did it. Then Jay ended the live. For the next few days, nobody knew what would happen. Jay disappeared from social media. Chris and Zara faced massive backlash. Their comments were filled with angry fans. Then, after 2 weeks of silence, Jay returned. But he wasn't alone. He had changed his entire content. New apartment, new team, bigger videos, better production. And within months, his followers doubled. He became bigger than he had ever been. Meanwhile, Chris and Zara's relationship began falling apart. Trust became their biggest problem. Chris would ask Zara where she was. Zara would ask Chris who he was texting. And one night, Zara finally said, If you could betray Jay, how do I know you won't betray me too? Chris had no answer. Months later, they broke up. Chris tried calling Jay. No answer. He sent messages. No reply. Finally, he went to the street where they grew up. Jay was standing outside filming a TikTok video. For a moment, the two old friends just stared at each other. Chris's eyes filled with tears. I lost my brother over a girl. Jay looked at him. No, Chris. Chris looked confused. Jay continued. You didn't lose your brother over a girl. He paused. You lost your brother because you chose to betray him. Chris began crying. I'm sorry. Jay looked at the camera in his hand, then back at Chris. I forgive you. Chris looked hopeful. Does that mean we can be brothers again? Jay gave a small, sad smile. I forgive you, but some doors close even after you find the key. Chris stood there silently. Jay walked away, and for the first time, Chris finally understood something. Not every person you lose is taken from you. Sometimes, you push them away yourself. Jay continued walking toward his future, and Chris was left standing behind, watching the brother he once had become a stranger. The end, or is it? Because just when everyone thought the story was over, Zara posted one final TikTok. A pregnancy test appeared on the screen, then a caption. The baby isn't Chris's, and the video ended with over 10 million views.